Hello, hello, hello. Tyus Jones is making his way to Orlando. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down the last few seasons of his career, just strictly by the numbers, to see what he's going to be bringing to Orlando in the 25-26 NBA season. This is the Orlando Magic Nation, your one stop shop for all things Orlando Magic news for Orlando Magic fans by an Orlando Magic fan. As day two of free agency is upon us, and it's come and gone without any news of Mo or Caleb or any other transactions for the Orlando Magic. But day one was important because day one landed us Tyus Jones. And again, in this episode, we're going to be going through a bunch of stuff, mostly looking at the shooting, the assists, and how he worked with Desmond Bane. And in the end of the episode, I'm going to talk a bit more about why I think he should be starting instead of coming off the bench. But let's start with his shooting. If you look at his shooting, at least for the last four seasons, he's been shooting very, very well. He's a career 37.8% three-point shooter. A lot earlier on in his career, he wasn't getting much of an opportunity in Minnesota, which was the team that drafted him, or at the beginning of his time in Memphis. So his numbers were not that great just because he didn't have as much opportunity. But in the last four seasons, if you look at the numbers, we're at 39% on 205 attempts 4 years ago. 3 seasons ago, he was at 37% on 326 attempts. And the last two seasons, he's on at 41% from three on at least 250 attempts in the season. So what he's bringing to the Orlando Magic in terms of shooting is desperately needed. I know everyone's talking about we need a floor general, we need a floor general, but really we need shooting. That's the biggest thing is what we need is shooting. And everybody knows it. Everyone's talked about it a million times. It was one of the reasons why we ended up getting Desmond Bane. And now we've got another sharpshooter, hopefully, in Tyus Jones. The big thing I think that we need to look at when it comes to his threes are the corner threes, because I think that's where he's going to be getting the majority of his threes this season, especially if the actions are going to be similar to what they were last season, where Paul and Franz normally have the ball once the offensive play is called, and they're the ones at the top of the key, and they're going to be having the driving lanes. So we're going to need somebody on the left wing and the right wing. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. In the past four seasons, he's at 39% on 241 attempts from the corner. Um, that doesn't seem right. Actually, I think it is. I think it's 24%, 24 attempts. But either way, 39% is actually it's a very very good number. 53% a few seasons in his last season with the Memphis Grizzlies. 53% on 66 attempts, and then in the last two seasons, 48% and 50% respectively on 63 and 138 attempts. So again, I think he's going to be in the corner a lot after he brings up the ball and after he gets everything set up. So that's going to be the place that we need him to really focus on and for him to shoot the lights out there. Um, this season, as well as we know, if you watched every one of the games, it was quite a slog when it came to threes. Now, we did have KCP hit seven threes, I believe, versus San Antonio, and he had another game where he had six threes. But looking specifically at game logs for Tyus Jones, he had two games of also of six threes pointers made. Four times he had five three-pointers made, and eight times he had four three-pointers made for a total of 166 threes. 166 threes is 53 more than the leader we had last season, which was KCP. I would say mostly because he was the healthiest and he was in most of the games. So he had 111, excuse me, 113 threes. Powell and Franz didn't break 100 threes. So that's that. If you compare him against some of the other Magic players, Jalen's best season, 2 seasons ago, 853 threes, which we long for those days. Hopefully he stays healthy and he's able to get back to that same shooting mark that he did 2 seasons ago. Paolo's best season was 113, 119 threes, and Franz's is 130 three pointers on 36% shooting. Those are the days. 36%, 36% shooting from Franz. So hopefully he's hard at work right now, which of course he is. He's a perfectionist. Going out there and getting the threes up and get that hitch out where he can just shoot as if he's shooting his free throws. If we look to take let's see. Oh, it's loading this time. That's great. So just looking at this is the one of the games against Sacramento. For whatever reason, Tyus was just killing it against the Sacramento Kings this past season. Obviously, their defense isn't the best, but he shot 6 3-pointers and both of the times he shot 6 3-pointers in a game. It was against Sacramento. So some of them, as you see, are wide open. But for the most part, he's over on the wings. So there was a lot of space on that team. Obviously, they had many shooters with Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Durant, and Booker, obviously. But see, there he goes over in the wing. That's what we need. Oof, three. That's the biggest part. We need to go in. So, yeah, that's what we're looking forward to, and we look for this season, this upcoming season. So that's what it comes for the shooting. Now, again, the shooting was always one thing that we needed. Everyone on Reddit, on the line, are talking about a floor general. They want somebody that's a true point guard, which of course it makes sense. Where we would, especially those that have been watching basketball since the '90s, talk about we need a floor general. We need a guy that's going to set up the offense and do all that. I would say yes and no. Obviously, last season our offense was better, or at least it felt better when Corey Joseph came into the game, or when he came into the starting lineup, because he felt like he can knock down a shot. First of all, he was a pretty good 3-point shooter, and he was just buried in the bench for so long. But also just feeling like the ball wasn't always in Paulo and Franz's hands. So in that way, Tyus is going to be very needed, and he is needed, and hopefully that's what he's going to be able to provide us. Is to make sure that he is someone that brings the ball up, gets us into our sets, hopefully, we're going to be having new sets and a bit more offensive flow instead of just this the read option that they were doing, basically, where it didn't seem like the team was ready for it. To be honest, it just seemed like they wanted to do it, and maybe in 3 or 4 years, when everybody's a bit more mature, basketball IQ wise, then they'll be able to run that type of offense. But right now, we just needed pick and rolls, that play where Goga would just basically run fullback and then Franz goes behind them. We needed plays. That was the only play it felt like we had that we were running for the most part. Obviously, as a lay person, it didn't feel like that was something that we were doing. So obviously, he's going to be someone that is going to be coming in. We're going to be giving him the ball. Hopefully, he'll have the ball in his hands at least to start the sets off, and he gets the juices flowing basically. So if you look at just his numbers, he averages over his 10 years in the league. He averages 302 assists per season. If you just look at the past 4 seasons, like I said, his last two in Memphis, it was 324 assists to only 46 turnovers, 417 assists to 74 turnovers in his last season with Memphis. His season in Washington is 485 assists to only 66 turnovers, and his one season in Phoenix, 429 assists to 91 turnovers. So obviously that season in Washington was exceptional with the max assists and almost the max in turnovers with much more opportunity. He played 66 games there, mostly because they shut him down so that they wouldn't win any more games, so they can move up in the draft. So that was all in 66 games, 66 starts really. So about about one turnover per game, which is incredible in the NBA. That he's able to do that. So if we look at who was the leader for the Magic this past year, it was Franz with 284 assists for the season. Now, again, he averages 302 assists per season. So hopefully he's able to have a bit of an opportunity in the Magic offense that where they don't have to have the ball in Franz and Paolo's hands all the time. They're obviously going to have high usage just because they're the best players in the team and they're the ones that are going to be taking the shots at that point. So that's of course going to be the way it is. But the big thing I think is just give someone another opportunity to be able to actually have some more of say on who gets the ball uh, at what opportunity. So if someone is open in the corner, last season it seemed like Paulo and Franz had lost a bit of confidence in the shooters, which makes sense. They were probably the worst shooting team in 15 years, basically in the NBA. So that makes sense, but hopefully now with Desmond Bane on one side and Tyus on another, hopefully they're going to be able to spray them out. So they're going to increase their assists, Paulo and Fran. But hopefully Tyus is able to come in and be able to provide um, some lift when it comes to ball movement because that's really all it was. And like if you looked at that video that I showed you a little earlier, it was just mostly the ball movement. Guys were just open, and guys were open on the Magic. They just missed it. But hopefully next season everybody's going to be in a better footing when it comes to shooting the threes. And Ty is coming with the ability to spray the ball all over the court is gonna give an opportunity for some assists, some additional assists. Um, just to kind of close the book on the offensive package that comes with ties. I have on here the offensive rating. His offensive rating for his 10 seasons in the league is 120.1. Looking at some of the other people we were looking to add to the team this offseason, he compares favorably. Kobe White is at 110 offensive rating. Colin Sexton, 111.5. Anthony Simons, 112.1. And Trey Young at 115.2. So looking at it, obviously this isn't the end all be all, and there's always going to be stats that are going to be a bit skewed. But over the course of 10 seasons, to have 120.1 offensive rating is definitely something that we desperately, desperately need on the Magic. So there's that. And just to compare him a bit to also some of the guys we still have on the team, the other point guards we had last season. Corey Joseph in his 14 seasons is at 100.9, excuse me, 109.9, and Jalen Suggs is at 101.8. So this is definitely an upgrade. And again, this goes to what I'm going to talk about at the end about hopefully the Magic are looking at all the options, and instead of just adding Jalen to the starting lineup, maybe they think, try and experiment to bring have Tyus start, then bring Jalen off the bench. And yeah, for the last part, this works perfectly. We ended up getting Desmond Bane in the blockbuster trade to start off the trade season or to start off the off season. By bringing in Desmond Bane, we now have two guys that have worked together or played together for a few seasons and had pretty good success. Um, so hopefully Tyus knows where Des likes the ball so that he's able to shoot. That's really all we want from these guys is be able to shoot. Obviously, both of them are ball handlers, and we need that as well, just because we lack that on the team. But the big thing is shooting. So hopefully Desmond's over on the corner. Tyus is able to get him the ball, boom, splash. Even though Desmond doesn't really shoot from the corner, he shoots more dead on. But we'll see from the top of the key. We'll see how that goes. But just to put some numbers behind that on where they were together. In the 3 seasons they were together, in the first season, they were at in the two-man net rating with Desmond Bane in the 2020-2021 season. They were a whopping plus 0.01 in 576 minutes. The following season, the 21-22 season, they were a plus 8.9 net rating in 792 minutes. And in the 2022-2023 season, they were a plus 3.8 in 850 minutes. So they've logged a good amount of time together on the court. So I would say that that's going to be a definite positive for Desmond Baines. Now have somebody on the team that he has played with, he knows more. He knows just intrinsically through playing ball with him. So I think that's going to be something that we are going to benefit from. So that Desmond Bain will benefit, and the Magic are going to benefit from that. Um, defensive rating, actually. We'll just throw out another stat at this point. Desmond, defensive rating, he's because I know that's the big concern. The big concern was that, oh, he's small, or he's going to hurt he's going to hurt the defense. You know, that's been the big discussion, that the defense is going to suffer a bit. And it's like, all right, well, is it going to suffer from the difference between Corey Joseph, or is it going to hurt from Jalen Suggs starting or not? Obviously, Jalen Suggs is a better defender. No one's ever going to say that that's not the case. Jalen Suggs has a defensive rating of 110.9, so that's obviously pretty good. He's not too shabby when it comes to defense. Uh, Looking at the numbers for Tyus Jones in his 10 seasons, he's at 115 defensive rating. Now, I would think, like looking at the numbers, that in Phoenix, it really took a hit. In the last 2 seasons, his defensive rating was over 122, I think, one season, and 124 in another season. So that really affected his average. I would say, looking at the numbers, just if you see them all on the list, he's closer to about 111, 112, 113, let's say, as opposed to 115. So yeah, there's that. And again, comparing him against some of the other targets we were looking for in this offseason, for Kobe White, it was 116.4, Sexton 120, Simons the same, 120, and Trey Young 118. So for me, it looks like we dodged a bullet a bit when it comes to defensive liabilities we have. Of course, Tyus Jones is going to get picked on. He's going to be the smallest guy on the court. If you look at some of his playoff numbers, those are not great. We will hopefully he has the opportunity to help the team when it gets to the playoffs. But first things first, we got to do well at the regular season before we get to the playoffs. Um, so that's where hopefully he's gonna better his playoff numbers. So the big thing: start or bet. Yesterday's video, if you were able to hear it with the audio troubles, um, the crux of my argument was that I believe that Jalen Suggs should come off the bench. The reason I think should come off the bench is because of Tyus being on the team with Desmond before, and we see that their net rating is pretty good over the course of a few seasons working together, playing together. So that's one reason. Another reason is Tyus isn't a lights out shooter, or a person that's going to be out there being the microwave. He's going to be the one with the energy to just out of nowhere score 15 points in 6 minutes or 10 minutes or anything like that. That's not, doesn't seem like that's his game. Again, I'm going to go back in and watch his games to kind of see the flow, but just from my understanding, that's not his game. Let's just say it's more of the game manager, like in the NFL. So that's why I think we need more firepower on the bench, because with Franz and Paolo starting and Des starting in, I think we have the offensive capability right there to score better than we did in the first and third quarters last year. As you remember, last year that was probably the biggest problem that we had. Starting games and starting the second half. Those were the two slow points. We were very slow when it came to offense and getting the ball going and getting the ball movement and doing all of that stuff. So for me to have Tyus be there and be the one to kind of facilitate that, get people the ball where they need to, and hopefully it'll make the offense much easier and flow better in the first and third quarters. And then Jalen can come in as the first person off the bench. So at the 7, 8 minute mark, or 7 or 6 minute mark of the first quarter and the third quarter, where normally Franz would be the one to come out. Tyus could be the first one to come out. Jalen come in. Franz could also come out, and then they could bring Tristan back on at that point. Because for me, again, Tristan has an opportunity to be very similar and bring a lot to the table of what Franz brings. So that would be the rotation that I would see as the first two off the bench on there. And then once Des needs his break, then Anthony comes back. Anthony Black comes in, and he would be more of a shooting guard facilitator, as opposed to him being the backup point guard. So that's that. If you look at some of the numbers with the starting versus the bench, Career numbers in 218 starts. He averages, this is, of course, Tyus Jones, 11.8 points per game, 6.8 assists per game. Last year in Phoenix, he started 58 games, averaged 10 points and 5 assists. In his one season in Washington, obviously, Washington very free flowing offense just because they weren't really trying to win. He started 66 games, averaged 12 points and 7 assists a game. And in both those seasons, again, he shot over 41% from three. So that's very important. To me, that's the thing we look at the most. But again, as a starter, he can he can facilitate, he can get offense going. And again, as a starter, he doesn't have to be the main scorer. He can just be the one to facilitate at that point and just take spot up threes. And that's what he's going to be with Franz and Paolo going downhill. There's going to have to be doubles, or there if there's a lot of zone, people are going to play against us. That's all he has to do is go out there and just shoot, 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 shoot. Hopefully, he has the green light on that. Off the bench, obviously it's a bit skewed because he didn't play much in his first 4 seasons in the league when he was in Minnesota. He didn't play as much, let's say, as the rest of the time. So if we look specifically at starting 2020 and 2021 season, he's been off the bench 131 games. He averages 7.5 points and 3.8 assists per game. So for me, again, like you're losing out on the opportunity to get maximize more from him, and hopefully being able to maximize Jalen's effectiveness. Hopefully, being able to have him come off the bench and rest a bit more, since he's already said Jalen that he's going to be coming the way he normally comes, and that sounds great. And we're excited for that because he is the heart of the team. But for long term health concerns, I think they'd be better for him to come off the bench and not be the one to be diving throughout the entire game. Only 30 minutes, 25 minutes of it, because again, it's been a while, but he can still get a lot of accolades by being the sixth man, and people can still know that you are the heart of the club, even if you're not starting. Because again, starting, sure, there's some prestige to it, but really, it's closing that is when it matters. And Jalen's going to be on the floor when it matters, unless for whatever reason he's not able to do it due to any health issues that he has. So let's do that. So again, that's why I would say that I would start Tyus Jones instead of Jalen, and Jalen come off the bench and be our super sub, basically. Yeah, so I think that's that. I keep kind of clicking on Twitter just to see if we have any news on Mo. At this point, there still is no news on Mo or Caleb or any other transactions Jeff Weltman might be working on to free up money or to better the team. So right now we still are a few players short after day 2 of free agency, but day 1 was fruitful. We got Tyus on board, which is great. So once we have news on Mo and or Caleb, I'll make a video on that just to see where we are. Hopefully we don't lose either one of them, especially Mo. Obviously, Mo is another one of our heart and soul guys, and it'll be fun to watch him play with Noah, so that they can wreak havoc in the. And then if it was Jalen, Noah, and Mo in the second unit, I think that would be a tremendous an annoyance. It's like playing against nets basically with these guys being all inside your jersey. So again, that's something that we're going to be remonitoring. So stay tuned for new news once that comes through. So that's going to end this episode. So again, apologies for the audio in the first video. If you have any comments, please put them down below. I'm looking to better the channel and have a bit more engagement with the Orlando Magic fans, because when you search on YouTube, there wasn't that much Orlando Magic content. So it's one of the reasons why I'm starting this, just so that we can have a bit more love on the YouTube algorithms for the Orlando Magic. So again, put any comment down at the bottom. I want to hear from you. Let me know if you hate the idea of Jalen on the bench, starting Tyus. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Mo and where he's going to go, and when we're going to sign, for how much? Anything, just pop it right at the bottom there, and you hit a subscribe and a like. It's really gonna help the channel. This is what they all say. This is day two for me, so I don't really know exactly all that's gonna go into it. But if you want to click on the link, it's gonna be right there, I believe. Otherwise, I talk to you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. I hope you're having a great day.